Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet, starring the entire Nelson family. Here is Ozzie, who plays the part of Ozzie Nelson. And, of course, his lovely wife, Harriet, as Harriet Nelson. The older of the Nelson boys, David, appears as David Nelson. And his younger brother, the irrepressible Ricky, played by Ricky Nelson. The Nelson's next-door neighbor, Thorny, is played by Don DeFore.
Oh, you got the paper. Can I have the back section, dear?
Can I have the front section, Pop? Today's last chapter of the Black Hawk serial.
Well, look, maybe I'm wrong, but it seems to me when I go all the way out to the front and get the paper from off the lawn or from underneath the hedge or from up on the roof or wherever the boy happens to leave it, that I'm entitled to read it first. Don't you think so?
Oh, your father's right, boy. You know, carrying the paper can be very heavy work, especially when it's got a lot of big words in it.
Oh, I go ahead and enjoy yourself. But it seems to me if I go all the way out front to get the paper, Ricky shouldn't grab for the funnies and you grab for the back page and David grabs for the front while I'm left with the want ads.
No, you're absolutely right, dear. It isn't fair. You go ahead and read the paper.
I don't need to be a tyrant about this. I don't want you all to hate me.
Oh, no, Pop. Go ahead, read the paper.
Thank you.
You're not interested in the Black Hawk serial, are you, Pop? Oh, thanks.
Looking for the funny page.
Thanks, Mom. Sure, if you're not interested in the back section, that's good. Thank you.
Now, look, does everybody have what he wants? Is everybody satisfied?
Yes, thank you very much.
Wanted. Young man to work in furniture store.
Oh, for goodness
No,
sake.
please, Harriet. You're interrupting me. I'm reading a very interesting article about Leonard Farnham here.
Who?
Leonard Farnham. He's not responsible for his wife's debts.
Ozzie, listen, do you remember Pop Gibson from Palisades Park?
You mean the old guy who used to operate the Ferris wheel?
That's right. He's in town.
He's in town here?
Uh-huh. He's staying down at the Benson Hotel. Look, there's his picture in the paper.
Well, how about that? H.R. Gibson, affectionately known as Pop, oldest member to attend amusement park operators convention.
Who's he, Pop?
He's an old fellow who ran the Ferris wheel back in Palisades Park, New Jersey. A wonderful old guy. Used to let young couples ride a little longer and stop the wheel when they were up on top.
Did you and Mama ever ride on his Ferris wheel?
Oh, you bet we did. In fact, it was on old Pop Gibson's Ferris wheel your mother and I became engaged. Remember, Harriet?
Very well, dear.
How'd you ever get up courage enough to ask me?
Gee, did you propose to Pop, Ma?
Yeah, sure.
No. Actually, I proposed to your mother, David, or so she would have us believe.
I wonder how old Pop Gibson is by now.
Oh, gee, I don't know. He was about 70 then, it seemed. That was about 20 years ago. Gee, I'd hate to guess how old he is. I'd sure like to see him again.
Hey, why don't we invite him out for dinner?
Hey, that's a wonderful idea. We could go down to the hotel and surprise him. He probably doesn't even know we're married. Well, I imagine he might guess it. After all, we sure spent enough time on that Ferris wheel of his.
Didn't you do anything else at the park, Pop?
Oh, sure. We used to go dancing in the pavilion, and we'd ride out in the boats on the lake, and we'd stroll hand in hand through the park in the moonlight, and we'd ride through the tunnel of love.
Yeah, but what'd you do for excitement?
Oh, Ricky, don't be such a sap.
Oh, I'm only kidding. It's kind of hard to tell sometimes, though, huh?
Room 412 for Mr. and Mrs. John Smith.
Pardon me, do you have Mr. Gibson registered here from Palisades Park, New Jersey? He's with the convention.
Yes, sir. He's the elderly gentleman sitting over there across the lobby.
Oh, yes. Thank you very much.
Fairly welcome, sir.
How about that? He hasn't changed a bit, has he?
No, I wonder if he'll remember us.
Oh, sure.
Mr. Gibson?
Yes? Well, well, well. Look who's here.
Remember me, Palisades Park?
Why, of course, dear girl. You're little...
Harriet Hilliard.
Now, what did you go and tell me for? I never forget a name or a face. Little Harriet Hilliard. You know you was the prettiest gal that ever rode on my Ferris wheel.
Oh, Pop.
Yes, you was.
And this is my husband.
Remember me, Pop?
Yeah, now, don't tell me. Don't tell me. Well, of course, you two was always together.
That's right.
You young rascal, you. Will you sit down?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, sit down. So you two got married, huh? Well, I ain't surprised. I always knowed you'd get her, Walter.
No, Ozzie Nelson.
Oh, of course, dear boy, of course. You live here in town, do you?
Yes, we do. We saw that handsome picture of you in the paper, and we just couldn't resist stopping down to see you.
Well, bless your heart, dear
Matter
girl.
of fact, I think you look even younger today than you did 20 years ago.
I suppose 20 years.
It's been 20 years.
How time flies. You know, it seems like only yesterday that you two lovebirds was a-walking around the park hand in hand. You sure was a romantic pair. Yes, and used to spend a lot of time up on my Ferris wheel, too. And in the tunnel of love.
Tunnel of love.
I remember. Anytime anybody come looking for you, they know they'd find you on my Ferris wheel or in the tunnel of love.
Oh.
Yes, it. And you was the kissingest young feller I ever knew.
Oh, no, Pop.
Oh, now, yes, you was, Walter.
No, Ozzie Nelson.
Oh, yes, of course, dear boy, yeah.
Well, the main reason we stopped down was to ask you if you couldn't come out to the house for dinner tonight. Can you make it?
Well, bless your heart, dear girl. You know, the fact of the matter is, I ain't had a good home-cooked meal since I got off the train.
Oh, well, we
fine.
look forward to seeing you. We just live a few blocks from here.
Oh.
Here, I have the address written on this card, Pop, so you can't miss it.
Well, I got an awful good memory, but I'll take the card just in case, you know. I get... What's that?
What's that?
Ozzie Nelson. A friend of yours, Walter?
No. I'm Ozzie Nelson.
Oh, yes, of course, dear boy, of course. Then I'll see you about...
About 7 o'clock, Pop?
7. That'll be fine, that'll be fine.
All right, fine. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
See you at 7.
Yes.
I hope I can whip up a nice dinner tonight.
Oh, you always do.
He's a cute little old guy, isn't he?
Who's that?
Paul Gibson, of course.
Oh, yeah. Funny how he kept calling me Walter.
Yes, I noticed that.
Yeah. He said whenever anybody wanted to find you and Walter, they'd just look in the tunnel of love. Wonder who Walter was.
I don't know, dear. I imagine he was some boy I went out with.
Oh, probably just a boy you went out with once and never saw again. He was probably such an unattractive guy, you know, such a boring kid that you never wanted to see him again.
I wouldn't say that. Most of the boys I went out with were pretty attractive. At least I thought so at the time. Whoever Walter was, he probably took me to the amusement park and Pop Gibson saw us there.
Oh, sure. That's probably what happened. It was all a very innocent affair. His parents probably drove the two of you over in their car, and you probably went on the Ferris wheel and rode in the tunnel of love together, the four of you all sitting in one seat. And then his mother and father drove you home.
No, most of the boys I went out with had their own cars.
Oh? Well, did your mother approve of your driving around with this hot rod maniac dashing up and down streets without regards for life and limb?
Oh, please, dear. Can't we forget about this Walter, whoever he is?
Oh, well, yes. Don't get disturbed about it, Harriet. Naturally, I'm a little bit curious as to know who the boy was.
Come on, Papa. You don't think you were the first boy I ever had a date with?
Well, no, of course not. You weren't the first girl I ever had a date with either.
I wasn't?
Well, no, of course not.
I'll be darned. You certainly had me fooled.
Hi, Oz.
Oh, hi, Thorny.
Harriet said you're in here.
Yeah, sit down.
What's that you're looking at?
Oh, it's a photograph album. Some old pictures taken before Harriet and I were married. Just trying to refresh my memory on some of the fellows that Harriet used to... That is, that Harriet and I knew.
These old pictures are really fun.
Yeah.
Who's this?
Oh, that's me when I was in the ROTC at high school. Look at that.
ROTC, yeah.
Yeah, some of these old pictures are real kicks. Oh, here's our high school graduation class.
Where are you, Oz?
See if you can find me.
Well, there are a lot of people in there.
Go ahead. Look, see if you can find me.
It's a pretty big class. You know, I get a kick out of these group pictures. The photographers always arrange it so that the good-looking people are in front and the funnier-looking people are way in the back.
What? I never heard of that before. Say they put the funnier-looking people in the back?
Oh, sure, Oz. That's an old photographer's trick. Makes the whole group look better. Now, let's see if I can find you.
Don't bother, Thorny. There's such a crowd.
No, let's see if I can, Oz.
No, really, Thorny, you'll never
No,
find
wait,
me.
Oz. This looks like you back here against the wall.
No, I just remembered. I think I was absent that day. I was getting a haircut or something or other.
Say, isn't this Harriet? The girl surrounded by all the fellas?
Yeah. Well, let me see. Walter. No, I know all those people. See, Harriet was a class secretary. These are all class officers. That's the reason they're grouped around so close to her like that. That's why they take these. Walter isn't in here.
Walter? Who's Walter?
Oh, well, the whole thing is kind of silly, Thorny. Started this afternoon. You'll never believe this, but I got the most ridiculous idea.
Well, that is hard to believe, Oz.
No. Let me tell you about it. You see, this afternoon we met this old gentleman we used to know years ago in Palisades Park when Harriet and I were going together before we were married.
Well, what's the unbelievable part?
Well, I'm coming to that. And this old fellow started calling me Walter, you see. Evidently, there was some association between Harriet and somebody by that name. So I got to thinking, this is ridiculous. Here comes the unbelievable part.
You just passed it.
No. What's so unbelievable about this man calling me Walter? The unbelievable part is that I got a little jealous.
Oh, Oz, absolutely nothing to get jealous about.
No. Of course not. That's what I mean, you see. And I'd completely forgotten about the whole thing until you just came in here and mentioned it.
Well, I'm sorry, Oz. I didn't realize I had mentioned it.
Well, you didn't exactly mention it, but you kept referring to these fellows that Harriet used to go with, and so naturally it brought the incident to my mind. But I can assure you there's absolutely nothing to this whole Walter business.
Well, I can believe that, Oz. I don't imagine it means anything.
No, it doesn't, Thorny, and I wish you wouldn't be such an old woman about the whole thing. Actually, it's probably just a case of mistaken identity. I mean, I remind this man of somebody he knows named Walter, so when he saw me, he called me Walter by mistake. That sounds logical, doesn't it?
Well, sure, Oz. Now, for instance, I used to know a fellow named Freddie. He had stooped shoulders and very big feet. Now, every time I see anyone with stooped shoulders and very big feet, it reminds me of Freddie.
Sure. Stooped shoulders and very big feet, you say?
Tremendous feet.
You don't happen to know whether he had a brother named Walter, do you?
Oh, you forget about Walter.
Well, Thorny, yes, I could forget about him if you'd stop worming his name back into the conversation.
Now, wait a minute, Oz. You keep bringing him up.
Only to prove there was absolutely nothing between Walter and Harriet.
All right, Oz. I believe you. There was nothing between Walter and Harriet.
What made you think there was in the first place?
I'm going home before you start thinking I'm Walter and that Sid Thornberry's an assumed name.
Now, you're being pretty darn silly, Thorny. The whole incident is so silly. Somebody mistook me for what was the name again?
Walter.
Walter. See, it completely slipped my mind.
Well, that's swell, Oz. That's really swell. I'll see you later.
Harriet, I'd like to talk to you.
About what, dear?
Oh, about your state of depression.
My what?
Your state of depression. You haven't been yourself all afternoon. This thing has been on your mind, and you've been brooding about it. You've been letting it get you down. Frankly, dear, you've been almost impossible to live with.
What are you talking about?
Well, you've just got to stop brooding about Walter.
Who?
Walter.
Walter who?
You know, the fellow Pop Gibson mentioned.
Oh, yes.
Well, why don't you just forget about him, Harriet?
Oh, I thought we did that this afternoon. Believe me, dear, there's never been anybody in my life named Walter.
Look, I know that. That's the reason I say it's so ridiculous to keep worrying about him. Well, why don't we just forget the whole deal?
All right.
Des Moines?
What?
Did you ever know anybody named Walter in Des Moines?
I haven't been in Des Moines since I was 9 years old.
No, just curious. Kansas.
What about Kansas?
They grow corn in Kansas. See, you thought I was going to say something about Walter. For goodness sakes, dear, get him out of your mind.
Oh, dear, impossible. But it is nice to know that you're jealous.
Jealous? Oh, for goodness sakes, Harriet, why should I be jealous? After all, suppose you did go out with a guy named Walter occasionally years ago. After all, I'm the one you married. You've been happily married all these years. We have 2 fine boys, David and Ricky. David is 16 now. Ricky is 12.
Yes, I know them, dear.
I imagine you like me a little bit. You seem to be fond of me.
I'm very fond of you, dear. But right now, Pop Gibson's coming for dinner, and I have to get it. So will you run along?
Just one more interruption, if I may. Do you ever remember a guy named Freddie, stoop-shouldered sort of a guy with big feet?
No, I don't think so.
No, Thorny knew such a fellow.
Oh, well, that's very interesting.
Yeah, we all know and remember people from the past, I guess. Remember Don Walden, the tall, red-headed kid?
Oh, yes. Do you remember Tommy Peterson, the little fat boy whose clothes were always too small for him?
And Al Dixon, the guy who always wore those sweatshirts.
Yes.
Quite a bunch of fellas.
They certainly were.
Whatever happened to Walter? Never mind, I'll catch you. I'll see you later. Well, good evening, Bob.
Well, hello, dear boy. Am I late?
No, you're right on time.
Hello, Mr. Gibson. We're so glad you could make it.
Well, thank you, dear girl. Thank you. Hey, just a minute. Don't tell me this big boy is your son.
You bet
yes,
he is.
Yes, well, this is Ricky. This is Mr. Gibson,
Glad
Ricky.
to meet you, Mr. Gibson.
I'm sorry, our older boy, David, can't be here. He's gone to a dance tonight.
Yeah, you know how those teenagers are. Ricky, take Mr. Gibson's coat and hang in the closet, would you please, son?
Dinner'll be ready in just a minute. Won't you come on in and sit down?
Yeah, come on into the living room.
Thank you, Walter.
Oh, can I get you some more coffee, Mr. Gibson?
Well, much obliged. Now, just a smidgen now. Not too much, not too much.
Are you still running a Ferris wheel, Mr. Gibson?
I sure am, sonny.
If I come to see you, can I ride on it?
You bet your life you can, my boy.
As I recall, it was pretty high, Rick. You might get a little scared.
Oh, not if he's anything like his mother was, he won't. Oh, she certainly did love to ride on that old spinning wheel.
Yeah, I guess she did.
You know, if that old Ferris wheel could only talk. Many a romance has been started on that old Ferris wheel of mine.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Yes, sir. You know, there's something about a Ferris wheel. Now, you take a young, good-looking girl and a boy and set them in one of them chairs, and the first thing you know, they're going around together. Around.
Ferris wheel joke.
Can I get you some more coffee, Ozzie?
Oh, no, thanks. I would like another glass of Walter, though.
So you see, things haven't changed much as far as I'm concerned. I sort of feel as long as that old Ferris wheel keeps spinning, I'm sort of half Pop Gibson and half Sam Cupid. Say, that was a mighty fine cigar, son.
Oh, that's fine. Here, have another one, Pop.
Oh, no, thank you, no, thank you.
Well, take one and put it in your pocket.
Well, I will. I'll smoke it in the morning.
Good.
Yes. Well, I hate to eat and run, as the old saying goes, but I swear it's getting a little past my bedtime.
Oh, well, I'll get your hat and coat, Pop.
Well, much obliged, dear girl, much obliged.
Say, Pop, I didn't want to mention this in front of Harriet, but there's something that's been puzzling me.
What's that, dear boy?
Well, are you pretty good at remembering people?
Well, I hate to brag, but Pop Gibson never forgets a face and never forgets a name.
Well, then, for goodness sakes, who's Walter?
Walter. That's funny. I never forget a name, but I'm scared you got me there, David.
No. I'm Ozzie. David is my son, remember? He's the boy who's at the dance.
Oh, yes, of course. Now, just wait a minute. Let me think just a minute. Now, let's see. No, I'm afraid I don't know this Ozzie fella, Chester.
No.
Walter. Walter. Who's Walter?
I mean Chester.
Oh, yeah, Chester, yeah.
Now, wait a minute, Pop. No wonder you called me Walter. You see, you meet so many people that you got a little confused. You see, that's the reason you don't remember my name.
Don't remember your name? What? Why, listen, Freddie. I'm like an elephant when it comes to remembering. Well, I've got the best memory this side of the Rockies. I never forget. Just as sure as my name is... Be sure and tell them two dear boys good night for me, will
Oh,
you?
you bet I will, Pop. And you've made me the happiest man in the world. There never was a Walter. It's all a mistake.
Well, I don't know what you're talking about, Herbert, but I certainly have enjoyed it.
Here you think, Pop.
Oh, thank you.
I called a cab for you. He's outside waiting now.
Well, thank you, dear girl. And say, folks, I have had a wonderful time.
Well, thanks. It's been a pleasure having you.
Just wonderful. And I want to thank the both of you, too. Say, by the way, boy, drop me a line sometime, will you, boy?
You bet.
Well, good night, dear boy.
Good night, Pop.
Oh, good night, Barbara.
Oh, he's a great old fella.
Yes, he is. Ozzie,
Yes, dear?
who was Barbara? Yeah, Pop Gibson called me Barbara just now. I wonder why.
Oh, that. Well, I wouldn't worry about it. He just probably remembered that I went through the tunnel of love a few times years ago with a girl named Barbara. I wouldn't get upset about it, dear.
Well, I'm not upset about it. How many times would you say you went through the tunnel of love with her?
Oh, I don't know, Harry. It was so long ago, it's hard to remember. But as I say, I wouldn't worry about it if I were you.
Ozzie Nelson, who was Barbara?
I cannot tell a lie.
What?
I cannot tell a lie. That's an old quotation of Abraham Washington's. Well, don't look so worried, dear. I finally discovered the answer to the whole situation. You see, poor old Pop just can't remember names any longer. That's the reason he kept calling me Walter and just called you Barbara.
Oh. And imagine you getting worried about Walter.
Well, imagine you getting worried about Barbara.
You've never even known a girl named Barbara.
Oh, come to think of it, I did used to go with a girl occasionally in high school who was named Barbara. And we did go over to Palisades Park occasionally. And we used to ride on the Ferris wheel and go through the tunnel of... Harriet, try and remember, who was Walter?
Are you going to read much longer, dear boy?
No, in fact, I'm just about ready to turn out the light now. Did you look in on the boys before you came to bed?
Yes, they're both sleeping soundly.
Oh, good.
I put an extra blanket on little Henry. He seemed rather cold.
Little Henry?
Yes, our younger son, Henry.
Oh, yes, of course. How was Sam?
He's sleeping fine.
Well, good night, Barbara.
Good night, Walter.